Rehearsal of a Play by Franklin Fyles. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. The Rehearsal of a Play. Few who see a new play well performed have any idea of the careful preparation given it. The hardest work done by actors is at rehearsals. These last about 4 weeks for a piece that is to be finally brought out. The first thing done is to call the company together to hear the piece read. The actors may have known little about it, except the portions contained in their separate roles. By courtesy, the author is asked to be the reader, but he usually declines in favor of the stage director. This meeting is held in any handy room in a theater or elsewhere. The director makes use of his best elocution so that the actors may catch the spirit and full meaning of the scenes as they sit before him like any other audience. Each pays especial heed to the passages in which he is to figure. He is anxious about the relations which he is to bear to the others, and he may also be jealous about his comparative importance. The reading includes all the directions as well as the dialogue, and occupies about 2 hours, for the same time that a performance of the same play will take, aside from the intermissions between acts. After the reading is over, each actor receives a typewritten copy of his part. The whole play is not given to him. Then the director announces the time and place of the first rehearsal, which is usually held the next morning on a stage. But in the autumn, when numerous companies are being drilled in New York, small halls have to be used instead. The players come in everyday street attire, and if the place is none too well warmed, they keep their overcoats, wraps, and hats on. If it is in a theater, the stage is nearly bare of scenery, and it is dimly lighted by a bad blend of bunched gas jets and obscure windows. If it is in a hall, the light is better, but the barrenness is worse. The stage is represented by a chalk-lined space on the floor. The things that will by and by give illusion and glamour are not so much as suggested. The reality of a first rehearsal is in the widest kind of contrast with the performance which it is intended to lead to. The entirely utilitarian aspect of rehearsing is not made less by the fact that the actors receive no pay for it. If they are not at the same time getting salaries for acting in a current piece, they are without income during the practice on the new one. This is an invariable custom. On the first morning, the opening act only is taken up. The players have not yet been required to memorize their parts. They are to learn the action first. They go through with the positions and movements as written down by the author, and explained by the director. Doors and windows are indicated by chairs. Balconies, stairways, fences, gates, sloping banks, winding paths, floral bowers, all are located by makeshifts. The aim is to familiarize the actors at the outset with the arrangement of the scene as it is to be. At the same time, their movements with reference to one another are learned slowly and carefully. While they are doing this, they read the words without much attempt at expression. On the same afternoon, the second act may be gone through with. At the end of the day's work, which does not in the early stages include the evening, the director says, 10 o'clock tomorrow morning, first act rough perfect, without parts. He means that the actors are expected to learn their parts in that portion of the play so as to recite them without reference to the copy. The next rehearsal begins with their attempt to do this. Some are able to, while others fail and have to keep their manuscript in hand. On the third day they will be reprimanded if still unprepared with the first act. All may then be told to study the second act for the ensuing day, when the third act may be taken up. Thus the actors are made to work their way along through the play. By the end of a week they have learned both the language and action more or less completely. They are much like pupils in a school. Some are quick and assiduous, Others are slow and inattentive. Some do their very best, and some do not. The brainy actor who is careless may be harder to get along with than the dullard who takes pains. While a liberal education is very helpful, first-rate work is done without it by persons born with a gift for acting. These are comic actors, as a rule, in whom nicety is less essential than mirth. Still, a certain player of dignified old gentleman knows no grammar by precept or practice. His ever-correct language on the stage comes of word-by-word adherence to the text. He is even right in the use of his pronouns. It is not always easy to keep the cultured actor from saying me when he should say I. Each part in a play is copied out for the actor assigned to it. In addition to the language to be spoken by him, it contains the cues. That is to say, every separate speech, long or short, is preceded by several concluding words from the next prior speech of some other person. That gives him the cue to begin. He must memorize these scraps of sentences quite as thoroughly as the matter that he is to utter, in order that his responses shall be ready. He must be particular about the ends of his own speeches, too, because they are in turn the cues for his companions. Lapses at these points cause confusion. The rehearsals have not gone far before the director gives notice that all must be letter perfect. What he means is that now the actors must recite their entire parts correctly in every word. Some are able to do that without difficulty. Others are surprisingly slow, even when they try hard. As the matter is broken up in dialogue, in which questions and answers are reminders of each other, the study is not often one that would be thought hard by a bright schoolboy. Still, there are actors otherwise clever who bother the director by mumbling and jumbling long after others are letter perfect. If reproof and prompting do not mend the fault, rehearsal for lines is called. Then the company sits before the director in a semicircle and recites the entire play without action. The smallest deviation from the text is corrected. Before the second week is over, the players have learned to say and do everything that has been set down for them by the author. Here and there an actor is fully prepared at this juncture to play his part in public. But it is not so with the majority. The women are more advanced than the men, as a rule, partly from having applied themselves more faithfully, and partly from the sex's natural aptness. The director now devotes all his efforts to bringing forward the laggards, teaching the inexpert and perfecting the proficient. It must not be inferred that talent is repressed at rehearsals. It is merely guided. Strong individuality is not objected to if only it is adaptable. The keynote in modern acting is naturalness. Human beings in plays are now required to speak as human beings do in real life under like circumstances. The hardest work of the director remains to be done. It is that of making the actors carry out the author's intention fully. They cannot be left to themselves. Each would play his part with small regard for the general effect. Some of them have creative ability, and the director is glad to hear what they have to say, because their suggestions are often valuable. Many a role that was small as written has become big when acted. But the majority of the actors are mere puppets in the hands of the man who conducts the rehearsals. His word is their law. He tells them how their parts shall be played. This extends to the pronunciation of the smallest word and the making of the faintest gesture. Nothing whatever is left unfixed before the public performance. It is only by a method of positive control that the whole purpose of a play can be carried out. It would be defeated if the actors were at all free to do as they thought fit. Some are tractable, some are wilful. All must obey or quit. So the stage director is an autocrat, and he may be a tyrant. He is a master of stagecraft, and he may be a dramatic scholar. Above all else, he needs the theatric instinct. When he sees or hears a thing, he should know intuitively, as well as by rule and precedent, whether it will convey its meaning to an audience. He may be a gentleman or a boor. In most cases he is a gentleman. He deals with men and women of culture in the main, and, though firm, he is polite and good-tempered. It is the duty of the director to preserve the proper balance of all the play's various interests. He may blurt out his orders and reproofs without caring if they wound anyone's feelings, or he may call individuals aside for private correction. But in any case he enforces his views and commands obedience. The reason that outsiders are but rarely admitted to rehearsals is therefore obvious. Rehearsals are funny in some ways. The dead-in-earnest director himself is comic at times. That is so when he shows an actress how to speak and behave in a sentimental scene. A hulk of a man posing as a gentle maiden and breathing vows of constancy to her lover is a ridiculous sight. But his illustration is clear enough. He might not be able to play even a minor male role cleverly, but he has to have the knack of teaching others. He has a schoolmaster's troubles, too. One of them is to keep the actors quiet when they are not in the scene. They are prone to chatter in groups. Points of difficulty arise constantly for the director to settle. They usually come from the actor's common desire to be made the most of. The two who impersonate the lovers in the play are especially given to disagreement. Each is afraid of being put back or aside in favor of the other. The center of the stage is the place of vantage in their minds, and they do like to hold it. In passing each other, which shall do so on the side towards the audience? When one must turn away from the people, which shall thus hide the face? Each is in dread lest the other gain an advantage in one way or another. When such a thing cannot be helped, owing to the author's directions, they do not hesitate to ask that changes be made. The comedians are all this time striving for chances for their fun, and would obtrude it into the serious scenes too much if they could. The utmost pains are taken with scenes in which two persons have anything to do with each other. If they shake hands, it must be done at just the right instant, and with no uncertainty. A blow is practised till it looks just right, and is never afterwards struck differently. Embraces and kisses are rehearsed with the extremest care. They must have an impulsive manner. They must look sufficiently fervid. It is a curious sight, that of two players who are to express the ardent love which Shakespeare has written for his Romeo and Juliet, but who at rehearsal, in modern clothes, and no accessories of glamour, practice a kiss as mechanically and unfeelingly as though it were, as it is then, utterly devoid of sentiment. There must be no hesitation nor clumsiness. Romeo is not permitted to decide whether to throw both arms around his sweetheart, or only one, or which. Nor may Juliet be shy or forward, yielding or resisting as she chooses. The director will place their arms for them if they do not themselves make a picturesque exhibit of tenderness. And the kiss? Shall it be delivered by the wooer on the lips of the one, or on brow, or cheek? That question is considered and settled. Are kisses on the stage genuine? Well, not at rehearsals, except, maybe, once or twice, in order to show the effect fully. An actress would resent a real kiss at a rehearsal, except when necessary. For the satisfaction of natural curiosity on that point, it may be told right here that most of the kisses in the public performances of plays are actual kisses. End of the Rehearsal of a Play by Franklin Fyles.